It could be the most emotional hour of television as a fan of this show. I mean, my goodness. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. So, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion special dropped a bit early on HBO Max the day before, and today I just want to talk about it. I want to talk about this emotional reunion between this cast of people that I grew up with. I was a massive fan of The Fresh Prince. I wanted to rewatch all of it in preparation for this. I got through about half of Season 5, but I've soaked in enough Fresh Prince goodness, well, at least I thought, to be prepared for just a ridiculous amount of emotion. So today we're going to talk about it. If you have seen the special, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that happened. So if you haven't seen it, it's on HBO Max right now, and I need your comments down below. And if you like this review, if you're a fan of Fresh Prince, if you want to drop this video a thumbs up, that would be awesome. But as for this reunion, now, when we first got the announcement, I honestly expected it to be, I don't know why, possibly a special, meaning they're playing their characters again and they're coming back, maybe 15-20 minutes of, where have they been over the past 30 years. I thought that could be cool. And then I thought about it a little bit. I said, no, it's probably just going to be the cast, and they're going to sit down and talk a little bit. Nothing crazy. Obviously, they're going to celebrate the life of James Avery, who passed away, 6-7 years ago now. And it's crazy to think about the fact that it's been that long. But as that father figure to pretty much everyone involved, even Jeffrey, probably, they had to do that, right? Now, what we didn't expect them to do was bring back Janet, a.k.a. the original, the OG, as she calls it in the special, Aunt Viv. What we didn't expect them to do was get as emotional as they did just talking about their love for this show. Whether it's their preparation the days before, coming together and figuring out how they were going to dissect each episode, or the day of, and the fact that they would turn the filming of whatever specific episode that was into a full-on epic concert. I mean, I learned things that I had no clue about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and just a bit of backstory as to how I discovered this show. My mom and dad, they were a huge fan of Fresh Prince, and they kind of introduced me at an extremely young age. I got the DVD set at one point, and now clearly it's available on HBO Max, so what was I doing? But I just loved this show, and I got so invested in the characters, and for so long, I could not bring myself to watch the series finale. I would say 2 to 3 years after I finished Season 5, I finally picked up with Season 6 just because I said to myself, and I was young at the time, and I felt like I was a part of this family, so I didn't want it to end. And then when I watched it and it finally, ended, which is what I didn't want to happen, I was extremely emotional. But by doing that, I was able to go back and watch multiple times and soak in not only the hilarious moments and the fact that they were consistently breaking the fourth wall, but the fact that they were doing what they were doing in the 90s thematically and kind of progressing forward in terms of what they as characters had to deal with, those relationships, whether it's Carlton and Will, the fact that Uncle Phil was a character that knew the harsh realities of the world, and they could hit on that while still being funny at the same time. And it's just a show that I feel like was ahead of its time. And now we look back, and there are those 90s tropes for sure, some of the, silly transitions and certain moments that may not hold up for a 2020 audience. Say, you're 14, 15 years old, you're watching this for the first time, you're going to say to yourself, well, it's probably extremely dated, but there's something so authentic about how you feel while you're watching The Fresh Prince, and maybe even for some, if you've never seen it before, going and watching it for the first time, it may transport you to that time. And that's what they were able to sit down and discuss. The entire cast, from Alfonso Ribeiro to Tatiana Ali to Karen Parsons to Joseph Marcel to Daphne Reed to Will Smith, obviously, and then just the discussion of James Avery and the inclusion at one point of Nikki, and the fact that you have an emotional DJ, Jazzy Jeff. I mean, so many incredible human beings here. But not all has been well with this cast over the years in terms of what happened with the original Vivian Banks, Janet Hubert that I mentioned at the beginning. And one huge aspect of the special was bringing her back into the fold and allowing her to have the first interactions with so many of these people for the first time in a long time, 20-something years, and kind of bury the hatchet with Will Smith. And we didn't get too in-depth of an idea, but we got kind of an idea of what happened between the two, and the fact that, Will was young and maybe he didn't understand what she was going through, and the fact that, her career did not end up that well after the show. And this was something when I was young watching the show I had no clue about, but now kind of learning the ins and out and seeing these two kind of accept the fact that they've maybe not been very nice to each other over the years, but bury the hatchet. She comes in. They're all in this group together. I mean, it was just so awesome to see. They highlighted one of my favorite parts of the show. You know what? My favorite part of the show, the relationship between Will and Carlton, the fact that their chemistry was so good, and they discovered that probably the first day working together, Tatiana having her first real-life kiss on set, all of these moments kind of transitioning into adulthood for a lot of these actors, the fact that James Avery and that montage that they had for him kind of highlighting his best scenes, that was incredibly emotional. But the fact that he was kind of the guy that came in and led everyone, and Will Smith kind of taking the reins of that level of an actor from him and transitioning into who we know today as Will Smith. Will Smith, I mean, he's just a cool guy. He's a guy that I would love to sit down and have a conversation with. I mean, he is such a good guy that he is producing, I believe he's producing the new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he's giving these filmmakers an opportunity to reboot this. And however you feel about that, the classic, the original, the OG Fresh Prince, this is what started it all. I mean, down to not knowing the fact that it would come on after Monday Night Football. I mean, we learned so much about this show through this reunion, highlighting all of the memorable scenes from that all-time fourth wall break when Carlton runs around the entire set into the audience to one of the best scenes, in my opinion, between Will Smith and James Avery. The episode about Will's father I thought was fantastic. So a lot of these things we highlight, we hit on, and it's all just this cast sitting, having a great conversation, a set of conversations, and then coming together, singing and dancing at the end. I mean, you could tell. This is not, I'm sure some of it was scripted, but this is not scripted. This is genuine, heartfelt emotion between these actors, between this family. And you can see that so well on screen. Another story that I had no clue about was how Will got the job in the first place. Just so many stories and so many incredible moments. And I will not lie to you, I had tears in my eyes, whether it's the original Aunt Viv returning or that James Avery, and then highlighting the final episode at the end of this reunion. They said at the end, we'll have to do this again in another 10 years. I'd love to see it. I'd also love to see them return to their characters and play their characters one more time, man. So many surprises. And if you've never watched an episode of Fresh Prince, you're not going to watch this, you're not going to care. And if you do watch it, you're not going to have the love and affection that we have as fans of this show. But if you have watched the OG Fresh Prince, then this is going to hit you hard, man. It's going to hit you so hard. It hit me hard. I loved it. I don't necessarily know how to rate something like this because movie critic, I rate things. So it's hard to compare it to other movies, but if I had to rate this just on emotion alone, man, out of all of the reunion specials I have seen, this is one of the best ones I have ever seen. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I loved it, and it's everything I wanted when I saw that first trailer and knew what this was going to be. So I need your comments down below. How did you feel about this reunion special? This is your place and space to discuss. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned. Plenty more reviews to come on this channel. Lots of Netflix stuff, and I'll see you guys soon.